All right, so let's explore unit fractions today. So one of the things I want to ask students here is, what do you notice? So, and then I'm gonna give them some wait time to think about what they notice, right? So one thing that's we're hoping students notice is that one of the pieces is shaded, right? So we only have 1 out of 2, 1 out of 3, or 1/3, 1/4, 1/6, and 1/8, right? And we want them to establish this, and we're going to call them unit fractions because these are unit fractions. Unit fractions are very important because we want to make sure that students understand they are the building blocks to all other fractions. All fractions are made up of unit fractions. So 3/4 is made up of 3 1/4 pieces. Another thing I want students to notice is that if I was to put a numeric representation on it, right, that the larger my denominator is, or the smaller the piece when dealing with unit fractions, right? So 1/2, the denominator is 2. 1/3, the denominator is 3, but that's less than a half. 1/4, the denominator is 4, is less than a third and less than a half. And the pattern continues, right? Eventually, I want students to understand that the bigger the the bigger the denominator, the smaller the piece, right? So that's one big idea that students need to definitely understand because it allows them when they compare fractions that are closer to zero or closer to one whole or closer to a half, right? So this is the foundation for that. Another thing that I want students to understand is the following, that some fractions have relationships. So for example, when I work with fractions, I like to group my fractions like this. I work with my fours, my halves, and my eights together. And then I work with my thirds, my six, sorry, my thirds and my six. And if I'm teaching fourth or fifth, I'm gonna work with 12s. And I work with those together. The reason being is because we build relationships. It's, as you can see here, let me move it up. You can see that as my denominator doubled numerically, my piece halved. And if I double my denominator again from 4 to 8, my piece is halved when dealing with unit fractions or when fractions with the same denominator. So for example, if I have 1/8, 1/8, and I understand this concept, I know that half of 1/8 would be 1/16, right? And half of that would be 1/32, right? And so forth. So I want students to understand this concept. Same thing happens here. When I work with thirds, I want students to begin to understand that if I double my denominator to 6, then it is half of 1/3. And if I was to double 6 into 1/12, that would be half of the 1/6. I want students to start seeing relationships. Another thing I want to make sure students understand is this idea of, let me move this, that if I was to put fractions in order like this, is this concept that the largest unit fraction we can have is 1/2. Right? I can see here that 1/2 is the largest fraction that I can ever have. And as my denominator gets larger, my piece will get smaller with dealing with unit fraction. So a smaller fraction than 1/8 is 1/9, 1/10, 1/11, 1/12, and so forth to 1/100. And you could play a game with students like that and just having them just name the fraction that is great, that is less than whatever it is when you deal with unit fractions. All right. Thank you.